Hey everybody, Quantum here, and in this video I want to take a quick review of the market since we've had, our first historic event in Disney Lorcana in the form of a ban list. With Hiram and Photosphere now gone, we are 24 hours or more than 24 hours removed from that announcement. What has the market done? What cards are spiking up, are being bought out? What do people think is going to be good now that the Sapphire decks are effectively rotating out of the format, I guess you could say? I don't think they'll be completely gone, but it might take some time for them to adjust. But there are just stronger options now. A lot of the metagame has been unlocked because we're no longer suppressed by the strength-based removal of Ruby Sapphire, that is. So let's take a look. Immediately, what comes to mind, and one of the things that I shouted out right away is Diablo. This card has definitely been spiking up. If we take a look at the past 1 month, you can see here April 8th, right? April 7th, the day of the announcement, April 8th, the card has just, gone up quite a bit. And that's understandable because Emeralds, not having to worry about brawls and Sisus and everything taking out their Diablos, is in a much better place. Even things like small Sisu with a Vitalosphere can out a Diablo. Like that's crazy. But now Diablo is a lot safer. I do think we're going to transition into a steel meta, and so Diablo still has to worry about some of the steel cards. But the difference there is you have support in Ursula Deceiver and other discard cards that will now become very strong in the metagame to check those steel songs that like to target the Diablo. And we're already seeing that, right? We're seeing that, as soon as the bans were announced, people were testing Emerald decks, which was already popular with Emerald Amethyst discard, is seeing more play now. And so people are buying out the Diablos because undoubtedly it will be coming back into the metagame. To me, it's Diablo's not a fun card to play against. It's an absolute disaster of a card. It's like I equate it to Maxi for Yu-Gi-Oh! So I'm not a big fan of it, but undoubtedly it's one of the most powerful cards in the game, 100%. Rapunzel's, I think, it's interesting to see that it's a bestseller. But I do think Amber Steel Song, and I call this out in the member video that I made. I think Amber Steel Song easily comes back as one of the best decks in the format. Emerald decks, Emerald Discard in particular, and Amber Steel Song were very suppressed by the Ruby Sapphire deck and Sapphire Steel, to be honest. But now that you're not under that suppression anymore, Ember Steel Song goes back to doing what it's been doing since set one. It just does it more and more efficiently as better and better cards come out. Rapunzel is the gatekeeper of Amber, is what I call her. She's very expensive, and you really don't play Amber competitively unless you have Rapunzels. She looks to have been stable for the past month or so. I don't really see any reason why this card would ever drop under $50 USD unless it gets reprinted. And even if this card gets power crept, like you'll play the new card plus you'll play Rapunzel. Like she's that good. Um, yeah, like if you don't have your Rapunzels, I mean, to me, unless it gets reprinted, this card just continues to go up. But keep in mind that we will get reprints, I imagine, at some point. So yeah, Rapunzel on the bestseller list there for the game. I'm surprised. Well, I mean, these things are probably going to take some time to calm down a little bit. I think Shark still has some good utility in the format, and I'll be interested to see. I haven't seen it yet, but I'll be interested to see if there are any new variations of Shark decks popping up. I do think Amethyst Ruby Shark might be something to consider. The issue there is like traditional Ruby Amethyst is probably just still stronger, but we'll see. Strengths, again, if you're playing any kind of steel deck, you're playing strength. Like, strength is the staple. Like, people have even cut storm rages and stuff, but they're still playing strength. It's the only inkable efficient removal song, right? Because strength and Zeus are both uninkable. Strength is just really good. I remember back when I used to make market watches a little bit more regularly, and I called out this card being like $3 or $4, and I'm like, why is this card so cheap right now? I think it was because it was a long time ago. To be fair, it was when like Zeus was being released. So I guess we all thought that like, oh, they're just gonna keep printing better and better steel removal songs, so strength's value will go down, and that absolutely has not been the case. But it's interesting to see. I never called Doc, but aggro strategies coming back into the meta game. Amethyst Steel Doc decks are going to be very powerful. They never really were not powerful, to be honest, but they're just made more powerful now. And I don't see a reason why docs would go lower, but I also don't see a real reason for them to go that much higher either. Um, Yeah, I mean they've been on an upward trend here. April 8th, they've spiked. Somebody decided to what was the who did it? I think I heard a rumor that like Vondahar bought like a ton of docks or something when they were like $2, and obviously he would have made a huge profit. So good on him for calling that one. If he was reselling them, I mean, I just don't know. I just don't see like it's a good card undoubtedly, but like it just seems so all or nothing sometimes, right? With the dock, I don't know. I mean, to be fair, if you play the dock based decks well, um, when your opponent sees that dock come down and you already have a board that you're threatening to, potentially go for lethal for, you're just like, oh my god, now I have to deal with his board and two more cards in his hand. I know that feeling. So like, I understand it's very strong and it's very powerful, but I just think its application is limited to a couple of decks right now. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it can be used more widespread, but really, aside from the amber, not amber, well, I guess yeah, amber steel and amethyst steel decks. If Diggity Hole comes back as well, the docks would be a thing in those go wide aggro strategies. I'm not even going to bother reviewing Beast Tragic Hero. Sisu, it would be on the decline, but it's still a good card. It's just not nearly as powerful as it was before, right? This card synergized so well with Sapphire Ruby. The fact that you could ink it when you got it early off like T-Pose or Fishbones if you were playing them. Um, and you would just ramp to it anyway. So it's like even having it in your hand on turn like 4 or 5 is like, okay, that's not bad. I'll probably play it out in the next 2 or 3 turns anyways. And then, I'll reduce the strength of all your stuff and just blow it up anyway. So the queen is in an interesting spot. It got better and it got worse. It got worse because this card was being used in the Emerald Amethyst discard deck. Like, discard your hand. Hopefully, you have no answer to the queen when I drop her, and I'm going to be able to get her ability off. Put your items in your discard to the bottom of your deck so that you can't Tematoa them back. Now you don't really need her to counter the items because those item-based decks are not going to be around. With Hiram not around anymore. But that being said, without Sapphire Ruby being around, she's no longer a liability to say, I have to stick this queen for a turn. She has to survive so I can exert her and get her ability. It's much more likely to happen now without worrying about having her strength reduced to get brawled or small C-suit or big C-suit away. So, does she see play? Again, the problem with the cost 4 in Amethyst is Genie, Rabbit, Goat. Does she do enough to displace any of those cards? I think rabbits are definitely out of the format right now. I shouldn't say out, but I think they're superseded by Genie now, unlike last format, which is very interesting. But I think I'd rather play a goat in almost every instance. The goat comes in, I can use the body of a 4/3 of the goat to do things like challenge, sing, etc. Whereas I drop this and I'm totally dependent upon it has to survive. I have to exert it, so I can't use it to challenge or do board control. And I'm proccing an ability to gain 3 lore. Yes, it can close out a game for you, but I think if you're in a position where Queen is going to close out the game for you, you're probably in a winning position anyways. I think the foils of these cards have been going up, but I guess at around $8, it's not a bad buy for the non-foil, just to have around. But in testing, when you get it off, it feels great. But a lot of the times, I'm like, did I really need this card? I don't think I've ever run into a situation where I said I needed that queen to win. But that's just me. The Calhoun is a card that I think personally just got a lot better because when I would always like I played a lot of, or not a lot, but I played a decent amount of Amethyst Steel in the Sapphire meta that we had before the Hiram ban, and the Calhoun, like, I just had to cut it out of the deck because first of all it's uninkable. That's really the only bad thing it had going for it. But what made it even worse is that into the red blue matchup, this card just felt absolutely useless. It would come down because you have to play it right in Amethyst Steel, and it would just quest for 1. Your opponent would never really have something exerted that you'd want to use on this, right? Like a Grammatala, a Hiram, if you can crab boost it, and like that was about it. And they don't care. They'll probably just remove it with a Sapphire coil down small Sisu, so it gets around the resist. It gets around what this card wants to do. With that interaction now falling by the wayside, the Calhoun comes in and it does a lot to check the aggro decks that might pop up again, the steel decks that might pop up thanks to the resistibility. It stops your opponent from turning things sideways, especially if they know your Calhoun will survive into it, and it forces them to find the answers to the Calhouns. There's been times, I know because I've played those matches, where like I drop the Calhoun and my opponent's aggro board is just like, I can't turn anything sideways, especially if you have two Calhouns. They're just sitting there with a wide board hoping to draw the out to the Calhoun, which, you know, against like Diggity Hole, they have to draw like Storm, or not Storm, sorry, Strength, because Storm doesn't even do it. So I think this card is in a much better place now because it's more playable in the metagame. The biggest card, though, in my opinion, and the meta that I think we're shifting into, like I think Steel Song and I think Emerald decks are going to be popular. I think Emerald Amethyst is going to be popular, but I think you're going to see a lot of variations of Genie decks. Genie is finally unlocked. I think I said this already, maybe in the member only video. I did do a reaction, by the way, guys, to not a reaction, but I did do like a cards to watch video for my members of the YouTube channel, and I called out like Genie and some other cards that I think were going to immediately be bought out and start to be spiking in price, and Genie is definitely one of them. April 7th. I mean, it hasn't gone up that much since the announcement, but you're going to see a lot of people playing Genie. There is, you know, without Ruby suppressing this card any longer, or nearly as much as it was before, this card is very difficult to deal with, and it is extremely oppressive with the questing ability. This card is the biggest winner, I think, out of the Hiram and Fortisphere ban. And you're going to see a lot of Amethyst decks come back into the metagame. It's going to be interesting to see which one ends up doing the best. But like even Steel Song has trouble with this card, which is crazy. Yeah, Genie is going to be a problem. I've seen matches when I spectate where people are in losing positions, like negative card advantage and everything. The opponent has like +3, +4 on them, but they just get a couple of Genies on the board and they're able to like win the game still. And I'm like, that's insane. Like that you can do that against somebody who's controlling the game. It's interesting to see this Bagheera up here. I do think Bagheera, you know, he's probably at an all-time low since his release. I picked up my third foil because he was very low. I think there is a case to say that he can go up in price. I paid $20 for that foil, 20 Canadian. And he's just a good card. 5 cost inkable, quest for 2, 4/3 stats, bodyguard, and your opponent, if they banish him, during an opponent's turn, you deal 2 damage. You're a grab your source to your opponent's board. If you're expecting an aggro meta, if you're playing Amber Steel Mufasa, Amber Steel mid range, if you're playing even Amethyst Steel, if you're playing anything Steel, I think you could easily just say like, yeah, I'm putting in Bagheera. I mean, maybe not Steel Song. I mean, but maybe Steel Song. Like this card is, I think this card is pretty good. Again, not in a Sapphire meta anymore, not in a I'm only playing like big heavy hitter character, so your Bagheera does nothing to me anyways. I think the card is the stocks on that card should go up. I mean, aside from that, there's nothing else I really want to review here. All the Sapphire cards should be on the immediate decline. I think they will be overblown. The Tamatoa is still a very powerful card. The card is insane, actually. But yes, losing Hiram does make it significantly worse, or make Sapphire as a color significantly worse. But being able to recur 2 items from your discard is still like an insanely powerful ability. It's still the best legendary in the set. So keep an eye on that card if you've been waiting to pick them up. Wait to see how much they tank. When they look like they've stabilized or start to trickle back up, it might be a good chance to drop in and buy them. I don't really see this card dropping like really, really low. It's just too good of a card. I mean, like Sapphire will still be around, you know, so I don't think it's fair to say like Sapphire is just going to die out completely and the Tamatoa therefore will just continue to tank because it's going to be a color that doesn't get played at all, right? So keep an eye on it. Again, we're going to get more Sapphire cards in the future, so we'll undoubtedly get something to replace Hiram. It's just a matter of when and how good it will be. And with that, I think we can call it. Yeah, we'll do some more meta reviews for decks and stuff later on. So if you made it this far in the video, thank you again for watching. Just a quick quick assessment of where the market's going, what cards are likely the most popular, what cards are being bought out, and where the meta is going. So thank you again for watching. If you made it this far, Quantum is out.